Hey, this is Charles from Tough Cut Australia, and just here to do a quick video on how to use our Tough Cut wide belt sander. This one here is a 1300 wide double drum sander. So it has the main first sanding roller, and then we've got our second roller with the platen on the back down here to give you a bit more finer sanding. So first thing you want to do is turn the machine on from down the bottom here. So you've got an isolator, flick that on. Machine will power up. We can see our power indicator lights on and it will load up on the screen. Now down the bottom here you've got two languages, Chinese or English. So obviously if it's in Chinese you can change that to English and vice versa. And the first thing we want to do is go to our menu option. We've got a couple of different things on here. So we've got our running interface, which is our main interface, our parameter setting and our alarm record. So pretty much the running interface is where we want to go. So we can push that and we'll get to this graphic display here. So basically we've got our two belts, our conveyor, and then we can move it up and down. So quite easy to use. Basically touch the icon that you want to start. So if you want to start the first motor, you can start that up. You see the amps will go up, and just wait till it's switched over to delta, like there, before we restart the next motor. You can start that one up. And we've also got our conveyor belt. So we can see our functions are all on. Our table height is currently at 100 mil. You can see the machine working. Now if you have a look up here, you can see the belt lifting, correcting itself. I'm not sure how easy it is to hear. That's the kind of motion that we want to get. The belt is constantly correcting itself. I'm just going to stop the function so we can see what's going on. So you can see that the belt is moving left and right, and that's to track itself. We want the belt to drift towards the end, and then when it hits the limit switch, it'll switch back and come back towards us. When you do change belts over, there are a few things you need to check, and you may need to change that depending on your belt. So loosening the belt tension, loosen off these switches here, air pressure will release, and then we can take off this bottom clamp. That'll slide out. And now we can slide our belt off. Putting your belts on can be a little bit tricky with one person, so if you've got two, it makes it a bit easier. Main things you want to make sure is direction of your belt. Now, not all belts have a direction, but if they do, they'll have an arrow. You need to make sure that that arrow is going the same way that your belt is turning up the top there. This is a over travel limit switch. So if the belt comes too far, it will stop and it will trip that out. See ya. Put that back up and that'll do our tension there. This is what we adjust when we're when we're adjusting our tracking. So I'll turn on one belt. Speed changing, and you can slowly see the belt is coming back. If I let that go too far, so because the tracking isn't set correctly, it's come back, hit the limit switch and stop the machine. There is a brake on the motor, and when it gets an emergency, it'll stop the motor a little bit faster. So we need to correct our belt tracking. So we'll turn it on again. We want it to move about every couple of seconds or so. That was pretty good. It's tracking nicely. We'll turn that off. So I've just pushed in the e-stop to make the brake come on to stop it faster, but normally just let it come down to a slow speed. This here, you'll notice that when you turn the belt on, this piston actuates and it puts the roller down. That's so if you didn't want to use the front roller and you just wanted to use the back roller and do fine sanding, then you can leave that off. It'll lift the roller out of the way and then you can just work on the back belt. But if you did want it on, you can adjust it here according to grits. You do need to change it because the different grit sandpaper will be a different thickness. And you can do that by loosening off this. And if we adjust this knob, you'll see that dial is changing. So this is an 80 grit, so we've got it set about there. And we lock that up, and you'll see when I turn it on, it goes down. Now you always set this when the belt is not running, because as you can see, it's lining up, but when you turn it on, it'll go off that. So you need to set it, and you can fine tune that however you need to. On this side, you've got the platen. So we can adjust this dial here, and this will, as you can kind of see, will adjust, bring that platen up or down. And that depends on how much pressure we want putting on it. If we're getting rounded corners on the front and the back of the panel, that means the platen is too low. So, and what's happening is it's rounding over on the ends there. So you want to just adjust this, and we can adjust that. So that's 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, and so on. And you just do that by feel till you're happy with the result you're getting. Always put the lock back in, the T-bolt in when you're finished. And I had one-handed, sorry. And lock that up. Okay, this particular machine has got blowers on the top, and the blowers will move as the belt's running, and there's a valve at the back, and that'll blow just compressed air onto it to help clean the belt and agitate the sawdust from sticking into it. It's got them on the front and the back. It does consume quite a lot of air when you do run those though. So we'll go around to this side so you can see this end. And in here, we can see we've got the other side of the machine. We've got the two motors. These are the brakes down here, and they just clamp on like a car brake. Check your belt tension regularly. Another thing to make sure is that these light sensors are clean. So always give them a clean when the machine's off. There's another one down here. Give it a wipe, because if that builds up with dust, then it may not trigger. And you can see by me touching that, it's moving the piston. If you don't trigger that, then it could, if that's not working, then it may not track correctly, and then you'll have it overshoot all the time. The doors do have a key switch in them, so you need to have them shut when you're using it. This one I have bypassed for this video, so I can show you how to adjust it and use it. Okay, so actually we'll leave that down. We'll go through a few things on the screen here. So we've got a couple of different alarms that this has. Broken zone means if the belt snaps, the motor lifts up. There's a switch inside that it will activate. Is this one here. It'll move that and it'll send the machine into an alarm because it knows that has snapped the belt. I don't know if you can see from here. And that will send that to alarm. Motor overload, if the motor gets overloaded. Left limit and right limit overshoot. So if for whatever reason the belt goes too fast, so I'm pushing this on here, those ones, then it will tell you that it's overshot. So green is good to go, red is there's a problem. Obviously we've got an upper limit and a lower limit. That is for the bed of the machine. Urgent stop is your emergency that we've got here. Pressure is air pressure. This one quite often gets forgotten. People don't turn their compressor on, wonder why the machine's not working, so it'll tell you that there. Then we've got left door and right door. So if I pull that key out, left door's open and currently the right door's open. So that will show an alarm. So that's the control interface. Tells you what's going on. It's pretty simple. Back to this main running interface. Now the height setting, there's a couple of ways you can adjust it on this machine. We can do it this way, just by holding down the button, and you can see the screen will move. We can hold this down on the screen here, up and down. We can use this jog if we just want to go up a little bit. So it'll go up 0.1 or so every time. And we can also set our height through here. So I can type in, let's go 90 mil, okay, and hit auto start, and it will automatically go to that size. Excuse me. So there's a couple of different ways you can move the height. If for whatever reason you're moving it and you need to stop it, you can hit stop, and then you can continue on with that. So it's quite simple, easy to use, nice and effective system. You've also got a manual override here, so if something goes wrong, you can manually twist it. It does move extremely slow because one bracket there is 0.1 of a mil. That's more for real fine sanding if you need to, but it's yeah, that's if you need to use it for that application, which is not very often. This machine also has an automatic function to get your workpiece thickness. So under here, right in line, there's a little switch. You might be able to see, no, inside might be easier. This switch here, there's an air switch. So when we activate that, it will come up till it hits that. So what you need to do is make sure you feed your panel in enough so it's past these rollers here. If you don't, then it will tilt and it won't give you an accurate reading. I can hold down this button here. It may take a while because we're currently at quite a height. Okay, we'll just wait for it to do this. Okay, so we're slowly getting closer. There, but give us a bit of an idea. So this is 16mm just chipboard for demo purposes only. So we've got to that, and now we've got it to there, and it's, sorry, 18mm, and it's now brought it up to that size. And you can just see in here that switch. So this is a quick way to adjust and set the height setting, and then you can go ahead and feed that through. Now, if your calibration is out, you can correct that. So let's say, for instance, this is 16mm board and not 18. So it was 16 and it was reading 18. Then we can go through the parameter setting, put in the password, which is in your book. believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we can change it from here. So work table location. So let's just say we want to make it 24 even. We can go here, 24.00, okay. And now go back to running interface. And now you can see we've recorrected that. So that may go out over time, it happens, and you can easily adjust that so you are always getting your accurate reading. Always measure it with a set of vernier calipers and measure it from a couple of different spots on the panel because it can vary on depending on your timber. So that's the interface. It's super easy to use, nice user-friendly, big screen. One other thing I will show, there is an emergency here. So if for whatever reason you jam something, it will bring up there. So that's the emergency brake plate. And you can see when we do push that, the start light goes off, which means we're in an alarm, so we can't turn the machine on. And then we need to clear all the alarms, and away we go. So we go back to our running interface. That's it, guys. Just a quick rundown on this machine, but I hope that clears some things up for you. And if you have any questions or anything, just let us know. Thank you.